like baptism or christening or anything like that, where you do it, it has to be a conscious decision because it's a commitment you're making. So it's whenever you decide that commitment to be made. So I've seen a very, like, a wide range of people who are like, okay, 55, 60, 12, whenever you decide that, hey, by the way, this is what I decided to do. We have a ceremony, and within that ceremony, it's a pretty, like, big deal. Not a party, but a religious version of it, yeah. And again, it's not around the same exact age, it's like whenever you choose, but it's a very big ceremony and it's intimate within the people who are actually looking to be initiated themselves.
Well, so number one, why haven't you why haven't you chosen to be initiated? Number two, what do you have to do once you're initiated? And number three, when we first came in, you met older man was talking to you. You talked in foreign language. Is that the same
yes,
language?
Punjabi is our native language. We're from the state of Punjab.
And is it like mandatory to learn the language?
No. Not mandatory, it's just the same as you guys learning Hebrew or not learning Hebrew. Some people do, some people don't.
Okay.
Some people, if you're brought up in a Spanish household, your parents probably want you to learn Spanish. You hope for the best. A lot of your questions actually are the same answers if you just converted those same questions into somebody from a household that's Jewish, or a household that's Christianity, or a household that's Islamic. I mean, those are the same answers no matter what. So why haven't I been initiated? Because I'm a coward and I haven't done it yet. I mean, it's the same thing that it would be for anybody else if somebody questioned why would you not be there, or whatever it is. It's just a personal thing. I haven't gotten there yet. It's not my intention to not be there. I just haven't made it a priority like I should. Now, the same thing for any other portion of it, of how your faith progresses or whatever it is, it's all your own personal battles and how you're dealing with whatever. One thing you have to recognize when you think about Sikhism is it's a religion just like, or a way of life, just like every other religion and everything else is a way of life. And I think I may have mentioned this before too, but just because we're learning about it, we think about these questions, we're like, well, why not this? But it's at the same time, that's the same dilemmas or things that people have issues with in other religions as well. We're the same in that regard.
What are the 5 articles of faith?
The 5 articles of faith are, so in Punjabi or in our language, they start with K, so we call them the 5 Ks. It's the kara, the kirpan, gesh, which is hair, another like a mini comb, which is ganga, and katara, which are like these shorts that they wear. Did I do 5? No.
Do you have to have all those articles?
Once you're initiated, formally initiated into the brotherhood of Khalsa, then yes, you have to wear all 5 Ks. You pray. You have a set of prayers that you have to do every single day, and you have to conduct yourself in a certain manner. We also don't eat halal meat. That's against our religion.
What's halal?
Halal meat is like a kosher.
Wait, why can't you eat halal meat?
Because the way that they slaughter, like if we eat meat, it's for the purposes of like the food chain. Like the way that they slaughter is like they take it, they nick the blood vessel, they let the blood drain, and they do prayers in the name of God, and it's like the animal suffering.
Oh, but you eat kosher meat?
Well, I don't know the difference what kosher meat is, but specific, is it? Well, so for us, it literally specifically says halal in our code of conduct, and so I don't know the difference between kosher, but I definitely know that halal is like, you don't do it. And I did this, and it was like literally about this, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the dietary restrictions. So I'll start with the restrictions.
Yes, and to any intoxicants, we have a restriction against because it prevents you from actually feeling the sense that you need to feel with God. And the way that our scriptures read, like you have this like euphoria when you're one with God. You really shouldn't need any intoxicants. When you come to Langar, we'll always have vegetarian meals because it's like the most inclusive. So you'll never see meat served in a group. Well, so by the way, there is a debate with this, right? Like, so there are a lot of Sikhs that'll be like, well, I'm vegetarian, but our code of conduct only says not to eat halal meat. So, I eat meat, because brisket. Okay, so we don't have a concept of like the Pope or anything like that. This is our religious leader is our Guru Granth Sahib. And that's where we go to for everything. And actually you were talking about the naming ceremony, for example, when you get married, when you are named, we go to the Guru Granth Sahib when a baby is born, we go to the top corner on the left, and we get the letter, and then you're named that way. So like, my name is Manpreet because it was a M on top left when I was born, when my parents took out the letter for my name. So we go to the Guru Granth Sahib for everything. So we don't have any discussion points on homosexuality per se in our Guru Granth Sahib or our code of conduct. The way we do have a specific way in which we get married, which I think I really like this concept a lot. So when we get married, we don't necessarily do the vows. Well, actually, we do not do the vows to one another. We think that you should be nice to each other in sickness and health, even if you're a neighbor. Like, that's what you should be doing as a citizen of the world. You don't have to say, I'll take care of you, I'll love you, I'll do that. We want you to do that to everyone all the time anyway. So our marriage is actually our commitment in front of the entire community, because remember, we rely on that community a lot, that company of saints. It's our commitment to our community that we make the Guru Granth Sahib the center of our life, and we walk this path together. So if you watch a Sikh marriage, we come around the Guru Granth Sahib 4 times, indicating both visually and figuratively, literally, the whole 9, that the Guru Granth Sahib is going to be the center of our life, and this is the journey that we're taking together. So each time we go around, it talks about that journey and how we connect with God, and how we're going to connect with God together. So again, the fundamentals of what you hear in normal vows, we already think that you should be doing that regardless. And the commitment that we're making here is that we're committing to become better Sikhs together here.
On that same topic, how does Sikhism view intermarriage?
So we don't have like, my friend, for example, when she was getting married to a Catholic, she had to take Catholic classes and then convert and all the rest. Now remember, our concept of marriage is that you're saying that you're making Sikhism and the Guru Granth Sahib the center of your life. So you can only make a commitment if you're committing to doing that. So while we see those marriages all the time here, intermarriages, people who just kind of do it just because they're like, oh, it's a Sikh tradition, the real authentic meaning of what you're doing when you're getting married in the Sikh Gurdwara around the Guru Granth Sahib is that you're committing to the Sikh faith together.
So earlier you talked about assimilating to American culture, and do you find that any of your traditions restrict you from doing that, or inhibit you from like blending in fully? Or one thing Rabbi Morgan has mentioned is like airport security with the, what's it called?
The one? Oh, the Kapan?
Yeah.
So we check in the Kapan. We have a really great relationship with TSA. So we're 100% randomly selected. So they know that they're not supposed to touch our turbans, and they know that there's a protocol with that, and they know that it's humiliating to ever take off somebody's turban in public or touch their turban or do anything disrespectful with that. So we have specific stuff for that. Yes, it's hard to assimilate because you're born to stand out. So it's like you can't go anywhere and not be held to a certain standard. So like if I go out and I see a Sikh guy with a turban and he's drinking and we're not supposed to drink, it's kind of like that doesn't marry itself. So in those aspects, like the way that American culture is, with what our like way of life should be, it doesn't always marry itself, or it's not conducive to it.
If you're not supposed to cut your hair, and can you like shave your legs?
No, anything that you've given has been God given, so we don't do that either. And so like the men under their turban, their hair is like super long. Like my hair is super long except for stress, so it's kind of like thinning out. But yeah, so that's what the concept is the same.
So, Daniel, could I ask this question, but, so if there are two people that are going to commit to making Guru Granth Sahib the center of their life, then, and it doesn't matter
and again, I probably am upsetting like a million other people who believe the opposite. I think that, again, it's, the focus is how you're getting to God, not what you're doing there. That's my perception of it. I think it's be inclusive of it, but again, there's nothing that comments one way or the other, in our code of conduct or in our group inside, so I'm still open with that.
What age do you sort of, like, obviously you don't cut your hair from like the beginning, but, at what age do you sort of kind of like, I don't know, like at 3, I wasn't very religious, so I would go to synagogue and I just sit there and I go home. But at what age do you start kind of, not making your children, but like, kind of enforcing the idea of religion and all that? Like,
That's dependent on every other household, every household. So for my kids, for example, I started from the get, because I was like, you know, this is our way of life, so it should be your way of life. And there are other people who will start their kids off strong and then decide otherwise. Or there'll be people who start off light and then they start off whatever. That's all personal parenting decisions. No. There's nothing that prescribes one way or the other how you're supposed to do it. The same. Again, that same concept. Whatever would be a dilemma for any religion would be the same dilemma for our religion.
One quick question, like, even when that, like, the girls would be, they wear the.
Yeah, my kids did. Like, so we don't cut our hair, so from the beginning. So my older son grew hair pretty fast, so I had him in a turban pretty quickly.
Oh, so the only one that have their hair.
Well, no, not, I mean, well, that's the best indication. So like my younger kid, his hair wasn't growing as fast, so I couldn't put it in a bun to tie the turban. So it just kind of depends, again, on, you know, how your kid progresses, I guess.
Could you just specifically pick up the bracelet, because you didn't explain that, but more importantly for me, the reflection of the shrine of the text here versus in the home?
So in the house, I actually have it, not this huge, but like a scaled down version of it. One thing you have to remember about the Grugan side, again, we treat it with such respect. You won't see it in a hotel drawer. You just won't catch a Grugan stuff like that. It's always going to be adorned and in a higher place and elevated. So like in my house, we have a room that is like this, but it's like shrink down version, but it's still, I still have like really nice silk cloth for it. I still have it on a pedestal. I still have everything at that level. So that's how it is when we have copies of it at the house as well. What was your other question about the Garda? What about
You didn't explain why.
Well, there is no why. It's article of faith, right? So there are human interpretations of it. They're like, oh look, it's on your right hand, so when I look at it, I won't do anything wrong. Like people will say stuff like that, but at the end of the day, that's just we keep it a steel metal because it's attainable by all caste and class. A lot of concepts that you'll see within Sikhism keeps emphasizing that equality thing. It keeps emphasizing it. So when you go downstairs to eat longer, you'll always sit on the floor equally. Because, and like you're sitting up here equally. You could sit next to somebody who's a millionaire, you could sit next to somebody who's on food stamps. You have no idea, because when you're here in the house of God, and when you're on this earth, you should be looked at as equally. I wanted to make another comment about the last names. In India, you could tell from somebody's last name what caste they are. And when you judge that person by their caste, you automatically say, oh, that person's rich and they've got this, they've got this, and they've got this, you know, you start thinking like that, right? Like if you walked in somewhere and somebody like that you knew had money, you start judging them, right? Like, okay, I need to be cool with them, so that way maybe I'll get the same fame or whatever else. That whole purpose of dropping the last name and having all the consistent same last name, so men have the last name Singh and women have the last name Kaur, is also not only to have that equality base where men and women don't, like women never have to take on the man's name, but it's also that caste-based thing, so you can't judge somebody. So you don't know if that person is rich or poor or whatever, you judge them for the human that they are. We try to eliminate all that.
Where did those two last names come from?
Our 10th Guru, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, gave us those last names, and we've taken them since then. So since 1699, we've been carrying those names forward.
So, since Sikhism, like, was it derived from Hinduism or inspired by Hinduism? Since that's the the era it came out of, or is it like, are you praising Krishna or like an offset of Krishna? Or?
So, a really good question, because a lot of textbooks prior to 2012, when we finally got them to change, a lot of them, and some actually still say this too, Sikhism is a blend of Hinduism and Islam. Sikhism is not a blend of Hindu and Islam, no different than Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have any similarities. They're from the same place, they're from the same area, they're gonna have some things that are gonna be the same. And frankly, there's some things that we have similar to Judaism, which is in a different part of the world in general, because religion is always inspiring you to be a better human, right? So those concepts are always gonna be the same to a large degree. We don't worship Krishna, we worship God. We believe in one God. And actually, well, we don't have it here, but our biggest symbol of it is Ik God, which is one God. So in our scriptures, again, we'll say, you can call God, Ram, Allah, whatever you call it, we're all worshiping that same source, that same spirit. It's not any different. Your God's not different than my God. We just worship differently to get there. So I guess indirectly we are worshiping Krishna, I guess. Whatever, the names are different, but we all think of it as one source.
I know, like in Judaism, a lot of like commandments that we're given are very like traditional and like not modernized and like would be like unrealistic to do today. So like in Sikhism, are there like those like commandments? Because like I know that like y'all's scripture is just like the way of life.
Right.
And like if so, like would you consider Sikhism as like a progressive religion that like you can adapt and change?
So I do believe it is a progressive religion in general, because the concept of like, for example, women's rights.
Yeah.
I mean, women weren't even given the right to vote in America until 1919, and here I had the right to be a woman in 1469. So in that regard, I find it to be very progressive. The basis of, just the way we worship, the progressiveness of it. If you read our scriptures within itself, it talks about galaxies and solar systems. So it talks about science. It doesn't dismiss any of those things. In that regard, I think it's very progressive. In our code of conduct, we also have this concept that Guru Gobind Singh also gave us, was the Khalsa Panth, which means the greater community of Sikhs. And so we can actually vote on issues and think about issues and change the way in which we do things based off of what the Khalsa Panth, the greater good, thinks of. I haven't seen it happen in my lifetime, but that concept is there, that this community of people can make a decision as well.
Are you allowed, the scripture is under the...
Yes.
Are you allowed to uncover it?
Yes, and we do it every single day. So we read our scriptures in the morning and in the night. Morning, again, to see what our day is going to look like, and at night to reflect to see what we just did.
And I remember you said that there were a certain amount of pages. Is
Yeah.
it like a book?
It is.
Yeah,
It's
we can show them.
literally like a book, and what we can do is I can ask Michael Beersnake to open it,
Yes.
and we can walk behind it when we're on
Yeah.
our way down. And you could actually look at the Guru Granth Sahib and see what it looks like to kill the mystery.
What's that on top of the...
So this is what we call
Jawar Sahib.
It's Jawar Sahib, but I don't know the translation for it. But if you think again back into when you think about kingdoms and things like that, they'd always ban and make sure that there was the reverence and respect for the king that they were in front of. You'd always see people just like doing that on the side. That's what we do too, to our Guru Granth Sahib. Same thing. It's that whole vibe of reverence that we have, so you understand how big of a deal it is to be in the presence of the Guru Granth Sahib.
What determines what part of the book you read each day?
We open it to a random page every day, and then just start reading from the top one.
Do you have like a favorite one?
Well, I have a favorite one because of the way that they sing the hymn, and so, like for example, and this is super ritualistic, which is anti-SIKH, but I always will listen to the same hymn every time I've got a trial, for example, because I just love the way it makes me feel, and I think about things before I walk in. So I'm sure everybody has like their little, before you do something.
So in the Torah we have trope, which is like little symbols that symbolize the tune that you sing everything in.
Yeah.
So you also have like symbols
So it's not a symbol, it's actually identifying the scale. So each one of our scales, our 32 scales, are identified in the Group Run